Today I want to take a look at Appointment Manager for the MS Teams app template that will help create virtual appointments with consumers. So in this, we have integration with Microsoft Bookings for appointment requests. They can be viewed at a team or personal level through custom tabs. Every appointment has an online meeting and is marked in the staff calendars. Scheduled appointments will also be sent to consumers with a customizable email and reminders with embedded meeting links. Here we have a couple of screenshots of the booking assignment request and the body of the booking coming in. Assigned to me and assigned to another staff member are the two buttons available. Coming down, we can see the queue of all of the different locations. We have a map for kind of where to place the booking, and we have a link to GitHub. Switching over to GitHub, we have a git clone URL, which I'll go ahead and take and download locally. And here we have a little bit more about the solution. For the deployment guide, we have a checklist here starting with the prerequisites of what we're going to need: an Azure subscription, tenant admin, bookings admin, a team, and a copy of the GitHub repo. There's quite a few moving parts here, and we'll go ahead and start with number one, set up Microsoft Bookings. So if this is your first time setting up Bookings, you'll need to go to the Bookings onboarding page, click Get It Now, and add a calendar. All right, to create a Bookings business, we go to the Bookings onboarding page and click Get It Now and add a booking calendar. Here's our Get It Now icon. We'll click Add a Booking Calendar, tell us about the name of your business, and we'll just put something here and say Continue. Just a moment. On the Bookings page, we have Services in the bottom left, which we'll go into and click Add a Service. Coming back over to the instructions, create a booking service, add, enter the details about your service, paying special attention to online meeting, duration, reminders, and staff. Okay, so let's see, add an online meeting, yes. Service name, I'll just call it appointment. The default duration will say 0 hours and 30 minutes. Let's see, maximum number of attendees, price not set, custom fields, reminders and confirmations, additional information, add an email reminder for maybe 1 day, and we'll say reminder. Show this on the bookings page, and anything else we want to collect here. Assign staff, there's just one user account on the tenant. So what I put in here was a service name, add the online meeting, a default time, and then a little bit further down, I turned on the reminder. There are no custom fields, but you can add them. That's kind of interesting for data points you might need to help make the appointment successful. Cool. Coming back over here, create booking staff members. Go to the Manage Staff, click Add People, drop down, choose Administrator, Save. Staff on the left. I only have one user account. It's already an administrator, so I'm not going to worry about adding staff. Register Azure Active Directory applications. 2 applications will be registered. An application for the bot and an app for the user sign. We're going to add 2 applications, one for the bot and one for user sign-in. For the bot, register a multi-tenant Azure AD app with a client secret. It will be used to register a service principal for bot framework. Okay, new registration, the name of your tenant's bot. We recommend Appointment Manager Bot. Interesting how that text is not underlined or highlighted, but glad we found it. We're going to click Add App Registration, put in a name. We're going to click the second option for multi-tenant. There is a third one with multi-tenant and personal. It does not mention doing personal. It just says multi-tenant here. So coming down, we can see a screenshot. They clicked on the second option. Leave the redirect URI blank. Cool. So we'll go ahead and click register. That creates our first app. Now we need to register a second app. Copy the client ID from the overview. Got it. So here we have the client ID and the multiple organization account type. On the side rail under Manage, navigate to Certificates and Secrets. Under Client Secrets, click New. All right, so we'll go into that, Certificates and Secrets, Client Secrets for Add New. We will pick an expiration, give it a name, click Add, and we'll copy the value. We're collecting all of this into Notepad. So now we have the first one, and that's completed. Copy value, we'll need it later. That's why we put it into Notepad. At this point, you have two unique values, safe location. All right. For authenticating users, we'll need a single tenant app. It must be registered in the tenant where you'll be using Appointment Manager. Okay, good. We're going to recommend naming this Appointment Manager. So same thing, we'll go back to Azure. Here we click Register a New Application, paste in the name, Application Manager, and we're going to leave this alone with single tenant, and I do not think we need a redirect URI. It says optional. Okay, register, copy the client ID, the directory ID. Yep, make another app secret, and you'll have 3 unique values. Okay, great. So we'll go ahead and register. With that one completed, we're going to copy the client ID first, same as we did before. We're going to copy the name of the app registration. And this time we're going to copy the directory tenant ID. This is an extra GUID that we're collecting. We'll go the same place with clients and secrets. We'll do a new secret, give it a name, give it a duration, click add. Here we have our secret created. We'll take that over, collect it into Notepad as well. Now we're on to step 3. Now this is kind of funny because it says click on the Deploy to Azure button. When prompted, log in. Create a custom deployment based on the ARM template and fill in the parameters. Under Scope, select a subscription resource group, making a new resource group. Must be in a region that supports App, Bot, Cosmos DB, and App Insights. Fill in the rest of the parameters using the following table. These are the different inputs we're going to provide. Interesting. All right, so we'll go ahead and click the link here. So it's interesting in step 3 that we have this deploy to Azure button, and I investigated it to get the hyperlink address underneath, which points to portal.azure.com/create. And it gives a template URI with an encoded parameter. Coming over to Fiddler, you can press Control-E for a text editor that does different conversions, and including URL decode. We can take this encoded parameter over to Fiddler, decode it, and see that it's an address over in GitHub. Popping that into a new tab, we can view a JSON file that provides all of the different Azure deployment resource templates, the type of the resource, the parameters that are needed. This is the ARM template for all of the different resources. And the link that we're clicking on the instructions feeds this template into the Create page to get this experience, where it says Customize Template with 5 resources. I think that's a pretty clever way of making things easy to provision and providing the link inside the instructions. So I wanted to take a moment to investigate this blue button and how exactly does it feed the creation screen with everything from an ARM JSON template. So on the creation screen, we have a pop-up window that describes all of the different ARM template supports and that we are deploying 5 different resources. You can even click Edit Template to drill in, see the resources, see the sub-resources, and how they're all connected together. Resources 5, here's the tree, there's all the parameters. It's a very interesting way of invoking the custom deployment. And then looking through the menu, we have a couple of different options where we're going to need to provide new values. Looking at the different choices, we want to create a new resource group, Appointment Manager RG. The base resource name could be Teams Appointment Manager. Location, standard, size 1. The bot client ID, that should be familiar. We have that over here. Yes, and then the bot secret we have over here. We have the Azure Active Directory ID for login, along with the secret. Staff member app ID, tenant ID. That's kind of interesting. Like I think I think that, I mean, this is the tenant ID here. This one kind of looks like a token. Maybe we can leave the token alone, see if it takes it. Back on the GitHub Markdown instructions, we see a list of all the different parameters. So we know about these two for the bot. We know about these two for the app ID. Those are things collected earlier, so don't worry about those. Location, base resource name, app point manager available, not taken, fail with conflict. Okay, so try to pick out a unique name. Default culture, tenant ID. If you're Azure, you may change the ID and deploying the app. Okay, looks like we have all the parameters. We're going to go ahead and try review and create. And we do get a green message at the top of the screen that validation passed with a create button. So we'll go ahead and click create to move things forward. And here we have a deployment in progress screen, which will refresh to show us as it deploys the different resources. Now we can refresh our Azure screen and see that all of the resource deployment is complete. Expanding the deployment details, we see line items here, including insights, document DB, web, more document DB, bot service, and Azure websites. We want to confirm that all the status messages say OK or created and that everything was successful. Coming back to the instructions, we'll come down a little bit further to set up authentication. And here we want to add a platform under the Manage Authentication for the app registration for user sign-in. So let's go switch to that screen. Navigating into our Azure website here for Teams Appointment Manager, we can see a URL was reserved for teamsappointmentmanager.azurewebsites.net. We're going to copy that over to clipboard. That's going to be referred to as our app domain going forward. And here we'll put it in the redirect with /auth. So going back to the instructions, we want to know what the app domain is. It's the base domain for the website. And that is something we're going to use here, so we want to include it with /auth as a suffix. Under implicit grant, we want to check access tokens and ID tokens both. So we're going to check both of these boxes. We have our core URL with the auth suffix. Looks good. From here, we'll go ahead and click configure to save those changes. Excellent. And now we're going to click on expose an API underneath manage. And for this, we want to provide the website with the app ID number. So it's going to be API fully qualified domain / GUID number, kind of an odd syntax, a little bit unique. So let's see what we can do with this. We'll take the DNS name of the website, API : / we need the GUID number of not the bot, but of the app. So that's going to be our full address. Come back over here to Azure Active Directory. We are exposing an API. And it's subtle, but we want to click the set link all the way up here at the top. And there it has. You know, it's kind of interesting. It has the default number, and what I'm pasting in matches. It just has now a DNS name in the middle. So it gave a default with the GUID because it knows which app that we're working on, but I needed to add the DNS name. We'll go ahead and save that change and see what our next step is. Here we need to apply a couple of scopes. Access as user will be the scope name. So we'll come on over, do add a scope. That will be the name. And who can consent? Admin and users. So we'll toggle that over. Access is the display name and description. Okay, so we'll give a display name. And we'll provide a description. With all the required fields complete, we're going to click Add Scope. So again, we have enabled. We have text descriptions, admin and users with a scope name, access as user. You can see the URL is the original base with the scope added on the far right as a suffix. We'll click Add, successfully added. Now we need to go to Authorized Client Applications and add the following values. Add a client application. Okay. So let's come down here Client ID, we'll authorize the scope. So here you can see this is a fixed value from the instructions. This is coming from GitHub. This is not one of the GUIDs we made. I'm guessing that might be the GUID that represents bookings. We'll find out. So that's a hard-coded GUID. We select the scope, we click Add Application, repeat the previous two steps to add another app ID with this number. After this step, you should have two, 5E and 1F. Okay, so we're going to add another one. And click that, click add, 5E, 1F, we have two that are added, matches with the two in the instructions. Back over to step 15, under manage, click on API permissions, and under configured, we're going to add for graph. Okay, so here we go to API permissions, and we're going to click add, and it wants us to select Microsoft Graph and then delegated permissions, and we're going to pick several. So here on the Request API permission screen, we're going to click Graph, the large button at the top. Then we're going to click Delegated on the left-hand side. We're presented with a long list. We want to line that up with everything here in step 17. Now, when we're searching for Graph API permissions, for example, bookings, appointment, read, write, all, we may need to filter and search because there's a lot of choices. By typing in booking into the search bar, I can get only the things that match. And here I see appointment, read, write, all is an available top selection. We'll go ahead and pick that. Then we can come into calendars, read, shared, user, basic, all. So if I change my search to calendar, expand the heading, calendars, read, shared, that matches those two. Come back over here, and now we'll do our search for user. There's quite a few, and we're looking for user.readBasicAll, which will be down here. We'll click Add Permission. So we want to reconcile this list against the GitHub instructions, make sure they all match. But when you're on that screen adding, you may want to use a search bar to speed things up. And finally, step number 19, we want to grant admin consent using one of the following three methods. If you're logged in as an admin, click the Grant Consent for Tenant Name button. Sounds good to me. We're logged in as admin. We'll click Grant Admin Consent. Successfully granted admin consent. Cool. And status, granted for tenant name. That looks successful to me. Cool. So now we're moving down to Git Clone, bringing things into our local repository, which I've already done on the command line. We can enumerate all the contents here and open Visual Studio Code to get into the files. Here we're going to create the Teams app package. These are zip files with a manifest that register the app in the Microsoft Teams client. We've done the git clone to bring all of the needed files locally. We want to open up the agent app manifest. Here in the folder structure, we can see under manifest, we have two different options, an admin app and an agent app. I've opened both of the manifest files, and we'll be working on the agent app first. So going back to the instructions, change the placeholders appropriate for an organization, developer, 4 different attributes, replace your host domain with the app domain value. This is for configurable tabs, static tabs, and valid domains. All right, cool. So developer, we have Microsoft, website privacy, terms of use. We're going to leave that all defaults for now, but we are going to find the your host domain, bring that over, and replace it with the Azure website that we had created. I'm kind of curious, it's inside the HTTPS, so all we need is the DNS name, 4 of them to replace, done and saved. And actually, I may be reading ahead a little bit, but there are a couple of these in the admin app manifest as well. So going back to our instructions, replace the Azure app ID for SSO to our, actually number 4, we'll do bot ID. So back over to our manifest for agent app, replace locate bot ID, toggle up. This was the first one we created early on in our video. So we'll go ahead and replace 2 of those. There are no bot IDs in the admin app. All right, cool. And going back to the website, Azure AD app ID for SSO. This was the app we registered to handle authentication. We will locate that, and we're going to replace it with this first GUID for our SSO purposes. There are 2 of those mentioned here, and there are 2 used on the admin side. Excellent. Create a zip with the manifest color and outline. The two images are icons. Name this appointment manager staff.zip. To accomplish that for the agent app, I'm going to right-click on manifest. I'm going to click open file location to reveal an explorer. This gives us the ability to see the icons as well as the manifest. Right-click, send the whole thing into a zip file, take away the name, change it to the name that they recommended, and go back to our instructions. And as expected, it says repeat the same token replacements on the other manifest for the admin app and name that zip file a little bit different. So again, we find the manifest in VS Code. We right-click to show it in Explorer. Here we send everything into a zip file. We replace the name of the zip file. And at that point, we can return to our instructions. So here we're going to navigate over to MS Teams, locate apps, and we want to upload a custom app. And we're going to upload it for the full tenant. Select this one, Appointment Manager. Yes. We're going to add that to a team. And our instructions say that we're adding the staff zip as a configurable tab, and then we will do the admin personally for an admin. Okay, so back over in Teams, we will set this up as a tab. That's fine. Go ahead and continue with the staff app. And here we can see that Appointment Manager has posted a card. It has its custom icon. We've got a dialog. Category, status, all, post a chat, okay. Short request 4. I'm just going to call this Appointment Manager for the name of the tab. Admin hasn't configured the app yet. All right. Fair enough. We'll come back. Coming back to Teams, we'll click Apps down in the bottom left. We'll click Upload a Custom App. We'll come over here, locate a zip file on the admin side. So going up one folder, down one folder, locate a slightly different zip. And this is deployed personally. And here we'll click Add a Service. And we have a couple of different prompts. And going back to our instructions, customer-facing string that identifies a category, the channel, the bookings business, the booking service, supervisors, click on Save to commit. So we want to populate this form based on our instructions. We'll select a Teams channel. We'll select one of the bookings businesses. We'll select one of the booking services. And we'll select a supervisor. And we'll call this Appointment. And we'll click Save Service. Excellent. So now we have one registered on the admin side. Coming back over, when we did the one for the agent for the full tenant, it kind of prompted that something was missing, almost like a dependency. Maybe that admin part needed to be set up first. App already exists. Great. Come over here to Teams. And actually, I want to see it added to a team. We'll pick out the name of the team and we'll do setup as a tab on the pull down menu. And now we no longer have that error about admin required at the top, right? That was something showing just a minute ago. So here we can go ahead and call this appointment, click save, and we're finally able to add the appointment manager into our team where we can see all of the different appointments that have been made and manage them, edit them, assign them to different team members. I mean, this really is going to be your group experience where we're managing that queue of appointments to do things like assignment or maybe a reschedule, whatever different activities we need to. Finally, in the GitHub project, there is an outline for an HTTP post to create an appointment request. And this is something that you can do with your API endpoint. It's an anonymous endpoint for submitting a appointment request. And this is something that you could use a tool like Postman for testing. It should be a real email address for bookings to send the confirmation. And that kind of demonstrates how we could use this maybe in a custom developed scenario, create a web part, surface this on a public website that might be hosted in a number of ways. I mean, WordPress, Drupal, any CMS that you might have, you can add a JavaScript form to create a booking, to create an appointment, simply with an HTTP post. So in recap, we created a number of Azure resources using an ARM template. We then created custom Microsoft Teams zip files for the app. We deployed, configured those, and were able to confirm the full system by navigating to the tabs in Microsoft Teams and see our booking appointments. That concludes our video. Thank you for watching.